name's Chris Fletcher, and together with my daughter Tracy, we were the creators of Giselle's wedding dress, which is on YouTube. And if you look under my daughter's ID, which is Tray Buff, that's spelled Traybuff, you'll see our creation. We've had a lot of questions about this dress, and especially how we did the ruffled petticoat. So we're going to do a short video on how we put this together. We haven't actually got the original materials anymore to show you how we did it, so we're going to compromise and use different materials, but it will be the same result. And this is what we ended up creating, which is the ruffled petticoat. What we used was sheer soft crystal organza, which comes in a roll, and you'll find it quite readily on eBay, and you'll need it in white. And we used about 50 meters of this all together.
Okay, for the dress, it needs a big hoop. This was originally a 6-bone hoop skirt, but by the time we put it on me being so short, we had to chop the bottom ring off. But when this is on me, this actually comes further down to the floor. You can buy these off eBay if you just type in, say how many rings you are, they call that a bone. So if you wanted a 3-bone hoop skirt, you would type 3-bone hoop skirt. But as I say, this was originally the 6-bone mega full version, as they call it. As I say, obviously I had to take the bottom ring off, but this is what you'll need for your dress.
Right, for the main skirt, we bought a lightweight white liquid polyester satin, which is quite cheap to buy, and you'll need 5 meters of this. This is showing the back view, which is completely without any ruffles, because you don't need to do the back, we only need to do the front. This is showing a side view as to how far you need your ruffles to come round on the skirt. You can go slightly further than halfway if you like, but it's not really necessary. And this will be your finished skirt. Most people, when they do this dress, they do horizontal ruffles, which are very quick and easy to do. But on the original dress, as Tracy is demonstrating here, they're actually vertical ruffles that go from top to bottom, and the organza roll is sandwiched between the satin strips, and I'm going to show you how to put these together. Right, if you're fortunate enough to have a ruffler, then this is definitely what you will need to use, because you'll be ruffling 50 meters of organza, and if you've got to do that all by hand, you're going to have very tired hands. And I'll just show you the settings that I use for my ruffler. You put the dog, as it's called, into number 1 for doing consistent and steady ruffles. And if I just turn it around, this is the setting of the screw. Do lots and lots of practices to find out the width of ruffle that is right for you. It doesn't need to be ruffled too much, so about a medium ruffle will be perfect. And I'm just going to show you now how you thread up your ruffle with your material once it's on the machine. You have guidelines at the front, and then you have a rigid blue metal strip that you can just see if I run my finger underneath. So demonstrating with a piece of paper, because I think this is easiest. I'll show you how to thread it up. Okay, you put your material into the first slot. It can only go so far and then it stops. So that's as far as your material will go. And then the material then will come up after the finger, like that. If I show a side view, you then have to thread your material underneath that first metal strip and pull the material tight out the back. It's quite tight when you put your material in, so don't be afraid of pulling it. So that is how your material will look. Down the first one, up under the first finger, and then force your material underneath that top metal strip out the back till you've got about 2 inches out the back that you can actually hold, because you'll be using the tension of the pull that will determine how big and small your ruffles can be, and you can totally control it by how much you pull it out the back. Right, now I'm going to show you how to make your measurements to make your petticoat. We've actually put ours onto our dummy, but you don't, obviously you won't have that. But wearing the hoop, get someone else to do the measuring for you. And what you're going to do is go from your waistline, a straight diagonal line, straight to the floor, right over the hoop, and then measure off what it is. That's 46 inches to there, which is about 117 centimetres. That will allow for the fullness of the skirt. So if I show you a side view, if you go over there, Trace, side view of what your diagonal is going to be looking like. So can you get down there, Trace? Just show the angle. Okay?
Okay.
This allows plenty, so that it's best to have it too long than too short, because you can then at the end shorten the whole skirt. Okay, we're now going to move on to the polyester satin. Now this, I've just done a short length here because this is just for demonstration purposes only. But with your satin and your measurement, you're going to make each strip as long as you needed it to be. So with Tracy's underskirt, it was 117 centimetres. So each strip will be 117 centimetres, or whatever your measurement will be, and the width is 10 centimetres, which is about 5 inches. You will need to cut a lot of these. Okay, for our skirt and for Tracy's height, we needed to cut 20 of these to go from left waist to right waist. So to be on the safe side, save yourself some time and cut about 30 of them, so that if you need to put any extra in, they're already cut and ready to go. Okay, for demonstration purposes only, this is what you're going to be using, how you're going to be using your organza roll. The ones that you can buy on the internet are about 28 centimetres wide, and they usually come in rolls of 25 metres, and as I said, you'll need at least 50 metres. And if you have a ruffler on your machine, you can save yourself a lot of time and just ruffle the whole lot in one go, the whole 50 metres. But if you're unfortunately you don't have a ruffler, then you're going to do all the gathering by hand. So what you'll need to do is put put in a running stitch with a decent knot at the beginning so it doesn't come undone. You're going to do a running stitch all the way along the top, and you'll do it for the whole length. So then you will gather it up like that, and you'll gather a very, very, very long strip until it reaches the length of your measurement. So if ours was 117 centimetres, I will keep ruffling on here until it measures at least 117 centimetres from there to the end. That's with it all gathered up and ready. So then when you've got your length, you'll then do a few over stitches at the end so that your ruffles don't come undone. Okay, we'll start off with our first strip of polyester. With the right side up, you're then going to take your organza roll that's all been ruffled, and then you're going to lay it against the edge, and as you go you're going to be pinning it down. You need to adjust the gathers as you go, feel free to do that. Okay, so you will be pinning the whole thing along your polyester strip like so, all the way to the end. Right, I found the easiest way to do this, and so it doesn't keep moving around, is to, after you've pinned it, run a tacking stitch all the way along to hold the two together. Try and keep your tacking and your gathering stitch near the top, because you don't want this to show when you turn your material the right way out. Okay, then you'll get another strip of polyester, but this time turn the right side away from you. So then you're going to sandwich the two together like so. And you'll pin it first and tack it and then sew it. So we're going to make a sandwich of the polyester. Okay, as my daughter has just corrected me, this is satin, this is the organza. Okay, so now we've sandwiched the organza between two pieces of satin, and what you're going to do now is tack down all the way. Then when that is done, you're going to machine it all the way down. So when the whole thing is opened out, you have the right side of the satin now facing up, you have a sandwich of organza, and then you have your first strip of satin right side up. So that is what it will look like. Then we'll go on to the next piece. With the satin facing up, you will get some more organza which you have ruffled beforehand, and that will be pinned and tacked to the edge of the next one. Okay, we've pinned that one down on our strip, and then you will tack it and then get another piece of satin, the right side away from you so it faces down, and then you'll do the whole process again by pinning and tacking, and then you will machine all the way down again. So when it's finished, you have a piece of satin, that will be the right side up. You will have a piece of polyester sandwiched between, then you've got your satin, polyester, organza, satin, and you'll do that for at least 20 strips, if not 25 strips. Just keep going and going and going.
Do you want to hold it up, Mum? Just to show them what it does when you hold it up.
Okay. No, it won't. No, I'll have a go. No. Not sure whether I'll be able to see this. We'll have a go. No, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I think they get the idea from that. I think I've gone through that slowly enough. Right, when we've done about 20 to 25 of these strips, this is what it's going to look like. These are your 10 centimetre strips of satin, and then these are our ruffled organza strips. If I just turn that over, then you go and see the next one. Turn that over. The next one. You just keep going and going and going. Every so often, when you reach about 20 strips, try it against your hoop just to see how far it goes around. Right, I'm going to show you what the underside will look like when you've got all your strips together. This is the wrong side of the petticoat, and what I've done, I've got an overlocker. And so I've overlocked all the straggly seams neat on the back. You can do a zigzag on your sewing machine if you don't have an overlocker to use, or you can use a very loose satin stitch on your sewing machine, just so it neatens it all up and you haven't got frayed bits that are going to catch. Okay, now I'm going to show you how it's all pleated at the waist, because at the moment you've got a very long oblong of material with all the ruffles. So if we go to the top here, what I've done is I've done a very severe pleat at the top of each one, so there's hardly any of this space at all. Just move over there, Trace. So what I've done is I've just taken the whole lot and done a very, very heavy pleat like that, every single one. And then, if you come back a bit, Trace, I'm using a piece of ribbon which was about 3 inches wide, and then I've sewn it along the ribbon at the top, but we haven't quite reached that stage yet, so that's a little bit further on in the talk. Okay, we're now going to sort out the bottom of the dress, because at this stage it will be very long and you'll have all this organza trailing on the floor, which you don't really need to do. This is where you need a second person to come in and make sure it's all cut off properly. What I've done at the bottom is that I've put an additional horizontal strip that goes all the way across, which neatens the whole skirt. So what you need to do, when you know how long your skirt needs to be, it just needs to be touching the floor or slightly above the floor. That is where you need to join this extra piece of satin. I cut off just the organza strip and I left everything that was underneath, and then joined the strip along the bottom in a straight line, and then I overlocked the whole line, and then for the very bottom I just turned it over a couple of times on my turn. We use my turn foot, which most sewing machines have these days, to just neaten up off that. Okay, using your hoop again, I'm going to show you how we constructed the back. From where the finished just there on the side. Take a measurement all the way around the bottom of the hoop to the other side, and read off your measurement. Ours is about 2 meters 10. Yours might be bigger or it might be smaller depending on which hoop you got at the time. And basically all I did was cut out a length of satin and added a bit, maybe 10-20 centimetres, so we have a little bit of extra pleating in the skirt and it's not too tight up against the hoop. So I joined the satin to the very last row of ruffles, and then went round the other side and joined it onto this side of the ruffles, like that. At the moment it's just one very, very, very long oblong of material. So find the halfway point and then completely cut it down the middle, all the way up to the top. That's where you can see my seam. I've cut it all the way up to the top because this is going to be the opening. So this is how I put mine together. Right, the whole thing is now onto the ribbon. We've got the pleated stuff and we've got the satin that's been pleated as well along the top to fit your waist, and then add some more. I've added about 10 centimetres on the ribbon, and I'm going to use a velcro fastening. This is very useful for getting it as tight as you possibly can, but you can also wear it a little bit looser if you need to. And this is where I cut the polyester right down the middle, and I've left a gap so that you can actually get it over your head, and then I sewed the rest of the seam right down to the bottom. Okay, with your velcro strips on the top, you can then pull it in as tight as you need it, like that. It doesn't have to be too neat at the back. That is the good thing about this. So don't worry about it if you're no good at ruffles or pleating. None of this is going to be shown because you'll have your overdress over it, and there's the gap. And then the last thing will be to neaten the edge and turn it up. Ideally you want it just a couple of centimetres off the floor so it doesn't drag when you're standing in it.
And there you have it. I hope this has been very helpful for you guys. As I usually say, we can't actually say this is how they did it in the actual film, but we do try our best. What you can do afterwards, what I love to do with this, is because although the organza was slightly sparkly, you can get some silver glitter spray that you're supposed to use on your hair, but it actually works great on the fabric, and you give it a really good spray and it really makes those ruffles glitter, and it adds lots and lots of sparkle. So it's just a little thing you can do after. I don't know if it's going to show up very well in this video. I suppose it catches in certain lights. You can see where I've sprayed it. But it's just a little thing you can do.
And what Tracy wanted to create was a lot of ruffle coming out of the top of the dress from underneath. So what we decided to do as a last thing, you don't have to do it if you don't want it, but she wanted the ruffles to actually come forward at the front of the dress. So what she did was ruffled a piece of organza and then she just sewed it horizontally at the top of the ribbon. So when she's got the overdress on, she can then bunch this up a bit so it actually sticks out at the top of the dress. That is her own preference as to what she wanted, but you don't have to do that.
Thank you very much for watching.